And so it begins. What's up, guys? I'm Chucky2009. Today we are going to be working on the New Holland round baler, which I just picked up a week or two ago. I'm getting it ready for the season. First ever round baler, first ever time working on one, and hopefully we can try to minimize the number of times I have to work on this thing. So one lesson I've learned the hard way is that, you know, Grandpa was always right. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And I've learned you can really never trust individuals and most dealerships with equipment. My regular viewers remember the New Holland Square baler adventure from last year, which actually that baler's still in pieces. I got to work on that as well. Even dealers, you know, I bought a Mahindra, had some issues with that. I bought a Kubota. When I got it, one of the front wheels wasn't on right. So you're going down the road, you look at your front wheel going like this, and they stabbed a hole in my floor to run the valves for the loader, and the rear end in that thing is overfilled literally by gallons. So yeah, this is why anytime I buy something used, and I've switched the policy into including new equipment that I buy as well, I go through everything, literally everything on the machine before it ever needs to be counted on or relied upon to sell. That's what we're gonna do. I got this thing, genuine reprint, New Holland manual. 'Tis the operator's manual. However, unlike some operators, well, most operators' manuals, this one actually has useful information. It talks about all the setup, all the adjustments that need to be made for all sorts of various things. Not really there, but all right, now we're getting some good stuff here. And yeah, so we're gonna go through, lubricate everything, inspect everything, try and make sure everything's going on. I think this baler's in pretty good shape. I decided to take a chance buying a used one because it costs a tiny fraction as much as new. These things are supposed to last somewhere between 30 to 60,000 bales, so I'm told this one only has 6,700 on it, and it doesn't appear to be farmer hacked. So hopefully, we just have to replace a few little odds and ends and clean stuff up, and should be ready to hit the field. All right, let's see what we can do here. So I figured we'd start with the simple things and try to take inventory of some of the stuff we're gonna have to do on this machine. I picked up some magnetic lights because I didn't have a way to hook these up to my truck, and also a new one of these signs because I brought this thing home. It was after dark when we got back, so I wanted to be somewhat visible. Since I had this stuff, figured we'd swap it out. Then I got in here and removed just this obscene amount of crap out of this this box, which is made for storing an extra roll of net wrap. Don't know how big of a concern it is, but I figured if we could keep this stuff from getting like embedded in the new roll of net wrap, then I don't have to worry about it like running through the machine or whatever. So now I guess we might as well figure out if these lights actually work. All right, let's see what we got here. The guy I bought this from was really nice. He even gave us some zip ties to zip tie some of the stuff together with, all right, this appears to be the cord for the bale monitor, which we're gonna have to run into the cab somehow. Set that down there. Two remotes, obviously this line we need to replace. And this, how the heck does this come out? Oh, yeah, that's quite logical. All right, hey, you know, this might actually be a spot of luck. You know, I've never actually gotten to use this plug. As you can see, this is a 24-volt system, but it is the plug, at least it seems to be, that the baler also uses. So either our lights are gonna work or we're gonna fry them in seconds. One way to find out. What? It's always best to jiggle connections while there's power going through them. Everybody knows that. It's a little bit of filth coming out, but not as much as I would have liked. Wonder if this baler has any fuses. Check it out, we got lights. Now the good news is I had a random tractor flasher around that I bought as a spare a while ago. The bad news is that it is, of course, round and the rest of them were square. What's really odd is 3 out of 4 of those lights, just plain and simple, would not work. One of them had a burned out bulb and I tried to change it, but there's so much like rust and crap in the socket, I could tell that was going to be nothing but problems. And the other 2 had perfectly fine bulbs, and again, just literally just would not work. I have no idea why. I don't think I've ever seen plastic lights go bad, but whatever the case, we got this working. First small problem down. Something else I thought was kind of weird is the way New Holland has, on most of this baler, put this really tough, hard plastic sheathing that's almost impossible to cut and, you know, sun resistant and everything else. And then they left the rest of this section here, you know, obviously on the old lights, just completely exposed to the sun, so it's all like chipped and faded and there's chunks of insulation missing. Oh, that's a little strange, but I think we're good now. So I'm working on the wiring now. I'll start back here. I'll start up here and work my way back. So this thing has this bale monitor, which, well, monitors the baler, and it's where we choose like how many wraps of net wrap go around this thing, and I'm not really entirely sure what all I can do with this yet because I have yet to read its manual. But, you know, I was looking at the power plug on this thing. I was like, man, that is just the weirdest thing. I mean, have you guys ever seen anything like that? And then I got to remembering the weird power plug in this thing, and there, it is just a perfect match. I thought it was really cool. There's probably a lot of tractors that come with that. Also, it's pretty neat is there's a little rubber piece which slides out of here and lets us run whatever we want through without having it interfere with our window. So now that is running back to the baler, and there's a little control box for that thing like over in that general area somewhere. And check it out. And so it begins. Now looking at this, it appears to be saying tailgate error, and man, I don't want to listen to that. And man, I'm gonna have a bad time if I don't want to listen to that. Anyway, so I think that's what that thing is. It's indicating that the tailgate is unlocked. So we can hydraulically lock it. That's a thing that opens up and does whatever the heck it's supposed to do. But I'm not gonna hook up the hydraulics to this until we change out that hose. So I guess that's what's next. So now that the hydraulic hose is in, it was a little bit of a pain, but one thing I did is I took some of that really tough nylon hose wrap and wrapped the exposed part of this hose, because that shields it from things like abrasion, which is always good. But mainly what I was concerned about in this application is just the weather and the sun breaking down that rubber. Now this stuff, for anybody who hasn't used it, all I'll say is if you know someone is out to stab you and you work in a hydraulic shop, just like stay late and stitch a bunch of this stuff together, because it's so difficult to cut and you have to melt the ends together. But I did that, and then I got the hose shoved up under there, and now it's time to mess with the wheels on this thing. I figured we'd replace these fine. The last one looked like a peanut butter jar. This one looks more like a pop bottle. Hubcaps here, so you can see, went out and picked up the genuine Case New Holland ones. This thing, seems to roll fine, doesn't make any weird noises, and does it, buddy? Hi, are you here to help? All right, go lay down. One thing I will say, however, is definitely some play in here, which makes me glad that I somehow resisted the urge to go faster than I believe 36 coming home. I set the cruise for the most part at 34. And I think I bumped it up to 36 once when I felt a little adventurous. But I pulled this thing home like a good 120 or 150 miles, whatever it was. It took like 5 or 6 hours at that speed. So, and it took almost that long going out there at highway speed because traffic and getting lost and everything else. So, people in the comments were talking about, oh, I can't believe you bought a thing with pop bottle hubcaps. And you know what? It does make me a little concerned. I'd be honest I'd be lying if I said it didn't. There we go. However, I will say it doesn't make me that concerned, because in my opinion it shows that the guy who owned this thing actually did care about it somewhat, because if he didn't, he probably just would have run it without the hubcaps. We don't know what happened to those. Maybe, maybe him or whoever he bought it from, he said he had it for like, I want to say 4 years. Maybe one day they were a little hard up for cash and, had to greased the wheel bearings and broke the hubcaps, or dented them or something, or New Holland dealer didn't have any and they had to make it back out to the field. Whatever the case, I'm just glad that there's something on there, because people who genuinely don't care about equipment, I know you guys have seen this kind of thing, would have just run it with no hubcap, or just like one wrap of duct tape around the face of this here. So we're gonna double check these bearings. The gentleman did say he greased them or installed them or whatever at some point. However, the one on the other side, the grease, I think there was like some dust or some water that got in because the grease was all nasty, so I redid that one. This one, hopefully we won't have to do that with. We'll take this out and have a quick look. Alright, well, there's a little bit of dust in there now from that rim. That wasn't very intelligent. I probably should have taken the tire off before I did that. This is just finger tight. I'm not an expert on wheel bearings or whatever. I just tighten these down only so I can't hear this thing going clunk, 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 clunk like this one was, and no more, like literally to a 1/6 of a turn or an 1/8 of a turn or whatever it is. That is all I will do. I know it's important, but part of me wonders if it's as critical as some people think it is, because I wonder what the average interval is for stuff getting, oh hey, this one looks great, for stuff getting greased on farm equipment. I'm betting it's somewhere around the number of years I've been alive. Alright, inside bearing looks fine. Yeah. Alright, we're just gonna add a tiny little bit of grease to this since we're already in here. I bet this is how the other side was until whatever that was, water or whatever, got in. Just gonna try and make sure there's no grit or whatever on any of this stuff going in. Guys, I'm thinking about getting a gooseneck trailer, and the more of these bearings that I have to come in here and pack with grease, the more the added cost for the oil bath axles looks appealing. Because I mean, it's not that big a deal, but like, what if you forget to do it, or you get water in there or something? Sealed oil bath sure does sound nice. Bearing that was fine, but now turns even smoother because we added grease in. Flat washer thing in. Goes together real good. What's interesting is this hole isn't going straight through like vertically or straight through horizontally. It's kind of like in between. I think that's, as long as I'm the one doing it, that's about as good as that gets. But I feel pretty comfortable with it. Not that I really know what the heck I'm doing now. Alright, mallet. Okay. Ah, dang it. Stupid hubcaps. I had this problem on the other side. I can't get them to go in on both sides to save my life. Oh no. Alright. Well, so I messed with this on the other side for like 15 minutes and I mutilated it and it went right on. The solution I found is put a little slit in here, but just like that, so it can flex a little bit, but not too much or it weakens it. I hope that doesn't make this hubcap wiggle out and fall off. But like I said, again, spent a lot of time. This is the only solution I could come up with that worked on the other side. I hate to do it though. Mutilating new parts. Yep. Alright. We're in. I will say this makes me less willing to shell out for Case IH parts, Case New Holland, Kellogg's, Conglomerate, whoever they are now. Because I could have got those same hubcaps like on eBay off-brand for less and probably given me the same exact problems. Great, now if the Baler falls on me, it'll be on camera and I could make some YouTube money. Alright, let's see how... Alright, so now I feel a lot better about this than I did before. And as mentioned, it made it like however many miles home, well over 100, and did just fine. So hopefully we should be good for many seasons of round baling awesomeness here. This thing has mismatched tires on it. One side says never inflate above 35 to seat the bead. This one says you should inflate it to 60 cold. So I'm not really sure what to do in this situation. But I will say, we're gonna take this outside because I can't actually open this in here. I will say, I am kind of surprised at just how insanely tall this machine is. Like, I'll put it this way, I'm a little over 6 foot, and I'm like 6'2" or 3", and my head is about there. So it's probably about 10 feet up to there, and I bet when this gate is open, like with that net wrap box, it's probably 14, 15 feet tall. So yeah, it's a lot bigger than it looks. That was pretty fast. That's another thing I like about this tractor. Lightning fast high hydraulics, at least compared to what I'm used to. Anyway, all right, hey, we got this thing to open. How about that? Woo! Tailgate thing indicates that they're locked. Yeah, see, that comes down over that pin. This side looks good, so that means hopefully if we turn on the bail monitor, we won't have that error message. No alarm, sweet. Now this is another thing which is mildly concerning. It's telling me there's a lopsided bail in there, but of course there is no bail in there. So we might have to go play with those sensors a little bit. So there's this bail density meter thing, which from what I can gather, basically just controls how tight the belts in this thing sandwich down all the whatever's compacted in there. So we got this gauge. The bad news is we can't actually read the gauge. I found a replacement one to buy online, but obviously I haven't ordered it yet. I will as soon as we get this set up right. But anyway, we want between 1,600 and 2,400 pounds of pressure in the hydraulic system. And it says, the manual says, this thing reads pressure as we raise the tailgate or when there's a bail core formed, but obviously we can't really do that right now. So let's see if that little needle we can see moves there at all. Yeah, it's going up. Alright, we can see it probably doesn't show up well on camera. It doesn't show up in real life either, but it's a little illegible. We're probably like 1,200 or something now, so we're gonna drop this. Control knob, which I've never messed with before. It said you unlock this thing and turn it. Okay, so this has to be the lock because that keeps this from turning. Ugh. There we go. All right. Okay, we'll just set that there so we can be sure to run over it later. And clockwise. Oh, that is stiff. So I sprayed some oil on this and got it moving. It moves pretty well now, but I kind of forgot how many threads were exposed, so we'll try it there. So I don't know if you guys can see that little needle in there, but it's pretty much right in between the 1,600 and the 2,400 measurements. I don't know if it's any different. I mean, it says to check the pressure with the thing raised, and it also says it only displays actual pressure when there's actually a bail in there. So I think we'll just leave it here. Now, one thing I will say that I'm concerned about is that is just maximum chooch on that thing. That's like threaded all the way in. So I don't know if there's an adjustment. I see that spring, make you guys as seasick as possible here. I see that spring, I'm thinking maybe, you know, next time we'll have to crank that down. Or maybe it's not really having much more to give because those belts are fairly well loved. So I don't know. So this machine will wrap a bail with either net wrap or twine, like regular bailing twine. I plan to use net wrap, that's what I got the machine for, but I figured while we're messing with it, we might as well get the twine side set up. So, you know, for the life of me, I couldn't make this thing work. I'm in the tractor messing with the bail monitor, just nothing happens, constant error messages. So I look in the manual and it tells you that the actuator for the twine tubes is right there. And, you know, like I said, I just couldn't get these things to move for any reason. And then finally, I opened up the door and discovered that we do not have an actuator. We only have a spot for one and two random wiring connections. Well, shoot. The guy I bought this from said all the twine tie parts are under there. And he's right, they are under the front of the baler. The issue is the ones that are not under the front of the baler, that are in the side of the baler, those are not there. This is why we look things over before we take them to the field.